Welcome to Ship of a New Story and the Best for the World broadcast. My name is Stellan Nordahl, and I'm working in the consultancy firm called Emprogage, which works for what is best for the world. So that's why we engage in this broadcast series, and also why we're here with the Ship of a New Story, and to help me out with this fantastic story about this ship, which brings a whole new narrative to the world. I've invited the program director for Ship of a New Story, and that's Rikard Paulsson. Welcome, Rikard.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again in this forum. We sat here about 1 year ago and didn't know what to do when the pandemic hit us and the rest of the world, and everything that we knew was true has changed. And I think that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I guess so. That sounds like a good idea. And what I want to say here is that a year ago we gathered for the Best for the World broadcast of a reason. You said that the pandemic struck, and when there was a lot of fear and anxiety in society, and the whole world was in some kind of a sync. Everything happened at the same time in the whole world. And what we wanted to do at that point with those broadcasts was to tell another story, a story of love, a story of engagement, a story of empathy, and a story of proactivity. And Ship of a New Story was one out of 50 a year ago. In this, we had a 4-day and 4-night live stream a year ago. And when we're talking about Ship of a New Story, maybe it's good that you and I just give a short, brief idea on what is this Ship of a New Story and why is it, and then we can come back to what happened a year ago. What do you think about that, Rikard?
I think that's a good start to explain what we thought and how good it turned out in the end when everything changed.
So we can start 50 years ago, actually, with a phenomena in Sweden called Almedalen. It's both a place and a concept, or way of, maybe we could say. Once a year, there is in Swedish an arena for democratical dialogues and conversations between politics, business, academia, NGOs, and all various how can I say it, parts in society that needs to get a good society, and all of them gather 1 week during the summer in Sweden out on an island called Gotland, in the biggest town there called Visby. And Almedalen is also a little place in Visby where it all started 50 years ago. So during 50 years, people have gathered to develop society, organizations, and themselves. And so was the case up until 2019. And we have been there with various concepts during the years, and we had an idea of a big ship. Also talking about a new narrative, a new story, which was setting sail for what is best for the world. And at the same time, we also wanted to engage more people and increase the engagement in society for those conversations and dialogues. So that was more or less the story up until 2019, end of December, maybe. I don't know what, if you can fill in here, Rikard.
Yeah, we had previously had an arena where we only worked with innovation and innovations and co-creation, but we thought we needed to expand these possibilities. Since it's on an island, you are restricted by those who can travel there, and living compartments and so on. So we actually, why don't take a ship and pick people up and go there, and we will have our platform at the site, and we could also have dialogues and workshops during the travel. And that was a way to work with democracy, that we actually could have sponsorship so that everybody could participate. And a few years before, we actually tried to also be digital. I think 2 years ago we called it Fika 2.0, where we actually had a live stream where people could have a dialogue, or what we call fika, that you actually could do mingling, both physical and digital. And that's what we try to build into this idea until about March 2020.
Yeah, and we were so stuck, actually, if I would like to say, into the physical ship, because we wanted the metaphor, this journey that we were all on, wanted to really no one behind. So the ship was also it set sail, but it was we were planning for the Virgin trip. We went, I and of us, we went to one of the larger what do you call it, help me, shipping, it's not shipping with people, what is it called, I don't know the
transport broker.
Yeah, that's right. One of the largest one in the world. We went there, and they all thought it was a fantastic idea, but we were really stuck into this physical ship, ferry, or transportation, to have the metaphor not only as something representing this journey, but also being it. So that was what the thoughts when we met here in this realized there during those broadcasts that it was quite simple to actually have those type of mix with the physical, digital. Right now I'm physical in a studio we have in southern parts of Sweden, and you're in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, and so you're on here with a link, and yeah, that's the way we can easily set up panels, workshops, and I mean now in the beginning of 2020, it's fully 2019, beginning of 2020, it was maybe not possible, but odd, I would say. I guess we when we did this broadcast a year ago, we really expanded the comfort zone of a lot of people. Yeah.
And actually it was, we were actually stuck in our own narrow mind. Actually, we had a need, we had a vision, and we actually was stuck with a technology or a platform. I actually have an example of that. Someone I met a few years back, Suva Melt, who was going to that you actually could recycle and get money back on all kinds of products. And we tried to have a technology solution to it, and we couldn't work with the technology or the physical. And then actually he just thought, well, why don't I do it digital and make an app out of it? So now you can actually recycle and put it into a circular system with everything, as long as you have a QR code. And that was the idea that we took into this, and said, what do we actually need for doing what we wanted to do? And we just had an epiphany. We actually don't need a ship to make a mental journey.
No. So take the story from a chronological perspective for a while. There we were end of 2019, beginning of 2020, with the idea of a huge ship going from Sweden, what do you call it, east coast of Sweden, to this island of Gotland, anchoring outside Visby, this hand town with ancient history, and then transporting people forward and back, having those arenas on top of the ship, and there were a lot of engaged thoughts. And then at sudden, we realized that it was quite simple to do those kind of setups that we have right now. And what then happened was that we were struck by this pandemic in so many ways, that Almedalen, that had been going on for more than 50 years without skipping one single year, all of us canceled their big event with 30. A normal year is 30,000 people coming to this. It's a 10-day event, or 8 days, I guess it is. 8-day event, and then there I don't know how many. I think it's like 5,000 events during that week or something like that. It's an enormous amount of engagement, and they all just cancel it. So that was in we were having those broadcasts between I think it was 27th of March to the 30th of March, and I think it was the 2nd of April, something like that. The announcement came that Almedalen is closing down this year, 2020. Then we texted the project leader for Almedalensveckan, which is the formal name, saying that we understand it's a hard time, it's tough for you, and the idea we then had was, what if we, all those engaged people, we do this together and we just try out and already at that point try out to see if we could do it totally digitally, and to engage more people also, and increase the engagement. And during the spring we had a long talk with a team out there on Visby. It all ended with the structures behind said that no, we can't do it, it won't happen. And then what happened then with us, I mean, we had the ship and we didn't need that, and we had also the knowledge about how to be able to set up and events instead of going to a physical island. So that's the chronological idea that happened in a time period of maybe weeks a year ago. So I don't know when we came up to the point that we realized that if we're going to have any of those conversations during 2020, we needed to step up and actually just do it. And I would say if there is a need now, it was definitely a need back in during the summer. A lot of I mean, the learning curve was extremely steep during 2020. So talking about dialogue and reflection and conversations, I would say that's what we need a lot of right now. Yeah, so that's...
And there was also, we could feel that there was a need to still develop and talk to people. That when you were just totally shut down and your normal network and communication and dialogues for innovations and pushing much needed question forward was just lost, and we needed to find a new normal way to keep on going business as usual, so to say.
Yeah, definitely. And also to engage in all of those learnings learning situations and experiences that we all were confronted by. And looking back now, I would say in the end of 2019 it was totally out of range to do a totally digital conference. I mean, there was of course conferences around the world that were made totally digital, but that wasn't ordinary setup, and maybe also a little bit odd. And in 2020 it was shown possible, and in 2021 I say, why shouldn't we meet digitally when it's so simple to set up those dialogue and engage many people in the conversations? Maybe we should rethink how we want to have things instead of what we needed to do. Yeah. So it's always easy to reflect back and say that yeah, we did it this way and that happened and so on. But it's quite interesting now, because during 2021 Almedalsveckan are going to be digitally transformed, and they reached out during the autumn to us as just one concept out of I don't know how many that on an ordinary year are conducted. But last year we were only 10 concepts in whole Sweden that actually didn't want to cancel and instead do it in another way, try out new things, see what one can do. yeah, and so on. And I mean, we're, to be real honest, we are not, I would say, early adopters or something like that, more like early creators. And as you said, Rikard, super important for people to get together, and even more important during times of high press, high, everyone knows what we have done with the distance. I know a year ago you and I, we talked about why do we use the term social distancing when it's about physical distancing. That was a topic we had back then. Do you remember?
Yeah, and actually how we broaden the mind, it's quite interesting. There is another island in the Baltic Sea in Denmark called Bornholm, and they have Folkemødet. They've only been running for 25 years, but and in June, and they have also turned into a digital forum that can connect not only people inside the country, but actually in between countries.
Yeah, and again, looking back, what we did during this week, we set sail with the Virgin journey with this Ship of a New Story. We realized that it had to be totally digital, which also meant that we could have parallel studios. So we set up parallel studios and we streamed 5 days, we call it arenas in and then we had 5 days, and 2 parallel streams on YouTube. So that was what we had, and then remember, it's so clear, it was like crazy because we had an idea that we could keep the ship totally. So we went on a ferry that is propelled by electricity. Ferry going through Sweden between 2 cities there, and we broadcasted from that ship, which was a little bit odd. Again, odd is maybe the right word, because all of a sudden we realized that doing such a thing, even if we have streamless internet of the Western society, and this is in the center of Europe, more or less, where the pulse is high and stuff like that, even if it's in the north center of Europe, we realized that it was 2 different countries. And when you're up onto Wi-Fi or internet connection between 2 countries, there are 2 different laws regulating the operators and the companies there. So what happened was that all of a sudden all the stream went down, as we thought. But YouTube was nice, so it buffered everything. We didn't know that. But everything went down for 20 minutes, and then it went up for 20 minutes, and then down for 20 minutes. As we went like this with this ferry, there is a short distance between those country in Helsingborg and Elsinore. And that was a tricky one. But interesting. I mean, you don't see those kind of anomalies when you travel in an ordinary setup, but streaming a conference or 5 conferences, then you realize this is a problem. So what are your thoughts now? We have had a year of change.
Yes, we have actually we had our structure that we built, we can build on even this year. We went from thought to action, and that's actually why we have those 5 days, so that you can on 1 week go from an idea to an actual action in the end. And that's how we built this program. And what actually has changed more is that it is much easier to connect to people, to participate in different dialogues. So I would say to build a program is much easier to find the ones who can want to make a change and actually make a change come through. which is what we try to build on.
Yeah, that's right. And what I'm thinking here is that it's a bit of um, point in time right now, as the change we have had has been, for many people, I guess, an outside change that we have to adopt to. But doing that, it has shown that a lot of things was possible that we didn't believe was possible. Again, if we just take this example, the Ship of a New Story, what was totally impossible, more or less, 2019, was shown possible in 2020 and entirely possible in 2021. So there is like a shift that we have gone through, but also now we can make this change intentionally. And what do we want to create? What kind of a world do we want to live in? And how can we then do it? Yeah.
Well, actually, what everybody has actually had the time to stop and think and prioritize. That's one of the things for a change. But since you and I worked on Almedalen, where we had debates and dialogues and people were suited up, something that I felt that you're actually sitting at home with the people in their couch. So the dialogue is quite different. You're more familiar. It's not so high strung. I mean, if you're a CEO, if you're a minister, or if you're a non-governmental organization, you're actually sitting in your chair at home. So it's been a more democratic and flat organization in the dialogues.
Yeah.
That's at least my experience from it.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And what we also have talked about together with Almedalsveckan is that there is this new app called Clubhouse. Just before we have this stream, you and I was part of a test stream here. We did connected this Clubhouse. Clubhouse, I would say, is actually Almedalen 24/7 with the whole world. It's a bit limited right now because they have still a beta version, so it's only for iOS units, which is it's quite limited. So what we wanted to do was to take the engaged conversations. We had a co-creation here with some guys called Learning Society, and so what we did was that we had a room. That's the name of it. In we can call it an event or whatever. A room in Clubhouse, and you also have to be very cautious about how you use things. So we announced in beforehand that this room is going to be broadcasted on YouTube, and then we connected the sound, just as you and I are connected through two different platforms. Actually, that's not what people see. They see something on YouTube, but right now we have two systems that are connected. You through a Zoom account, and me with something called Switcher Studio. So we connect systems to be able to interact in a and this was what we did here just an hour ago with the sound, as Clubhouse is a sound app, and we took that into YouTube, and we used again Zoom to stream it, and that showed that you can actually engage with people all over again from the whole world in existing communities that already are present, and then take that community and cross section it with another community, and that's fantastic, I would say. So it would be super interesting to do this on the ship this year and see how we can engage people from all over the world, and maybe get a hub somewhere else in the world also, not only here in Sweden, a hub somewhere else in the world. So what we know now, you and I, Richard, is that we're going to have at least 2, maybe 3 hubs in Sweden. One in Stockholm, where you are, one in Malmö, in the southern part of Sweden, and one at Visby, this old city at Gotland, this island. And then, if anyone hears this and wants to engage, please help us out to have a studio hub somewhere in the world where we can engage in Ship of a New Story. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add for today. Do we have anything more, Richard?
Well, actually, Ship of a New Story will sail again. So we're actually sailing for 4 days in Sweden and 1 day in Denmark.
Yeah. So we start out already the 18th of June, 1 day at Folkemødet, which is the Danish version of this, as you said. And then 4 days, it's between the 4th and 7th of July. So if you want to get on board on the ship, and we don't want to leave anyone behind, so shipofanewstory.com, that's the best way to find the contact forms and stuff like that. And you can also contact me or Richard directly, of course. It's no problem at all. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what we want to say, right?
Yes, actually, I would like to, since when we look back on what we did 2020, when we had this, we tried to make a vision of what we wanted to do. And that time we wanted to sail the ship, and we was proven wrong. And this year we will try to take this knowledge and that we've been used to changes, to canalize this into action. So it will be an action shipping tour for this time. So for next year, we will make a new appearance and see how far we came with that idea and what new ideas have challenged us during the way that led to new possibilities.
Yeah, we meet here again a year from now in this Best of the World broadcast and see what have happened and what are the intent for the future. And if we have had a year of change, what a year of change doesn't lie in front of us, and what intents do we then set, and so on. So thank you very much, Richard, for being here with me tonight, and thank you everyone who have listened. Something else you want to say before I close down the stream and the conversation, Richard?
Well, you all are welcome aboard, and we will leave nobody behind. So come sail with us and go for new distance and new experiences. Welcome.
I couldn't have said it better. So that was the closing. Thanks.
Competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.